Okay, you're live. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, John. Welcome, everyone. I'd like to call the Town of Rocky Hill Planning Implementation Committee Zoom remote meeting of February 9, 2021 to order. My name is Dimple Desai. I'm the chairman of the committee. I think we have a couple of new people who have joined us since our first meeting last time. So what I would like to do, I mean, this is like an informal meeting, so it's not, you know, I like maybe we all can introduce ourselves, just go one by one. But I just wanted to let everyone know that while this PIC is referred to as a committee, it is intended to be more of a working group focused on ideas and ultimately prioritize and recommend its implementation to the appropriate board or commission or council, as the case may be. I like to emphasize that although we are going to work towards achieving few goals, the implementation of new idea or action step depends on several factors such as priorities, support, funding, etc. So having said that, I'll just go one by one that I see on my screen, and you can just introduce yourself. Bob Alvarado.
Yeah, Bob Alvarado, wetlands agent for the town of Rocky Hill, also part of the engineering group of the town of Rocky Hill.
Thank you. Victor Zerilli.
Victor Zerilli, Planning and Zoning Commission.
Sandy Kelly.
Hi, from the Open Space and Inland Wetlands Commission.
Ed Ciccarello.
Unmute.
Unmute.
Busted. Ed Ciccarello, Walk Bike Rocky Hill.
All right, Melissa Hicks.
I am Melissa Hicks from Human Services with the town of Rocky Hill.
All right, Kim Ritchie.
Tom Thanner, Zoning Enforcement Officer, Town of Rocky Hill.
Ann Hartman.
Hi, Ann Hartman, Assistant Director of the Central Connecticut Health District.
Thank you. Craig Bowman.
Greg Bowman, Parks and Recreation Director, Town of Rocky Hill.
Thank you. Marnie Liska.
Hi, I'm Marnie Liska, also Open Space Commission, Inland Wetlands. I'm one of the new people.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Steve Soplek.
Yes, Steve Soplak, Town Engineer, Rocky Hill.
And this person doesn't need introduction, Mayor.
Hi,
Hi, I'm Lisa Murata, Rocky Hill.
We have Justin Orkut.
I'm Justin Orcutt, just a town citizen living on Riverview Road. Glad to see my neighbor Ed here.
All right. And then we have Marty Stiglich, I believe, on phone.
Yes, this is Marty Stiglick, Chair of the Economic Development Commission.
All right. So we have representation there. So that's good. Do you know, what's his name? Ray Carpentino going to join us, or?
I don't think so. He's on partial days. He had surgery recently and is not back to fully participating in anything.
Okay, thanks. Going on to second item on the agenda, public comment. I mean, again, this is just, as I said, in informal type of setting, so we don't have, I mean, everybody here will be participating later on as well. So unless somebody wants to talk something about that's not on the agenda. If not, we'll move on to item 3. It's a 2015 Plan of Conservation Development. The first item is review the spreadsheet. I'd like to thank Victor for putting together this wonderful spreadsheet and organizing it. So what I will do is maybe I'll have Victor go through that and, take the lead on that.
no good deed goes unpunished. Hold on, I got to bring it up here on my computer. Okay, so how do you want to do it? You just want to go line by line? What the goal for this sheet was to kind of like organize it and prioritize it and see which ones are complete streets or I'm sorry, affiliated with complete streets or not. How do you want to go about doing it? I mean, we can just go down the street, the list and just read it, or
Yeah, we
wanna-
can.
how do we want to approach it?
I mean, I think it is a rather long list, so I think it will take probably a couple of meetings. So why don't we just go from top to bottom?
Okay, so the first section here, Architectural Reviews Advisory Board, is well, before we even start, is the idea behind this sheet is to basically eliminate the ones that, or just prioritize, like, for example, modify or repeal the ordinance establishing Architectural Review Advisory Board. I would consider that a priority 3, and I don't know if that's what we want to do and just go down and say priorities and then go back, or I don't know how we want to do it.
Yeah, we can prioritize and then visit it back and see, which ones are on the top. And, what we'll do is, say we do half of this sheet today, we go back, we review it, and everybody should, look at it. If you have comments, concerns, we bring it back. 1 may become 2, 2 may become 3, and 3 may become 1, whatever the case is, based on what everybody feels. So we can do, like that.
Dippo, may I say something?
Yeah.
So what I heard from or read from Kim's email and took away from the last meeting was that you wanted to organize these, and I heard Victor say to try to put them in categories, and I did that on one piece of paper. I took everything and I put them into 4 categories. 1 open space, pedestrian, 1 bicycle, sustainability, 5, and connecting to the river. So I sent that document to Kim, and that would be my input for this. I know that this document is very long, and as you said, it probably would take more than one going.
I mean, we can probably go through and prioritize and say, does this item look something that we should be addressing it? And then once we have all ones together, then we can say, okay, now let's see if we can subdivide these things and, into appropriate headings, if you want, 4 or 5 categories.
Yeah, I just had a quick question regarding page 1. It starts at number 3, 4, then there's number 3. I'm assuming you cut and pasted a bunch of stuff, Victor?
Literally typed it back in.
All right, because I'm just trying to figure out
Because
where
of-
I was just trying to figure out where each thing's
well,
coming from.
Ultimately, this came from the sheet that we initially got. That was basically, Kim, you could probably elaborate, but they're just copies or scans from the POCD.
Yeah, throughout the POCD, the Plan of Conservation and Development, there are several different sections, whether they be natural resources, economic development, residential development, open space. And what they did during the POCD development is they put forth goals and strategies and objectives. And so that was cut and pasted into a previous spreadsheet that Victor's referring to, and he took from that spreadsheet and created what's before you tonight. So that's where those kind of disjointed numbers come from. But what Ed's point is that at our last meeting, we were talking about the spreadsheet and talking about generalizing categories. I think Ed and I were on the same page there as far as taking and taking a lot of action steps and grouping them into like categories, broad
Right.
categories. As you can see further down on the agenda, Complete Streets or Sustainable Connecticut, some of those have already kind of been created. And Ed found that out. I found that out. If you look at the categories, you can see if we want to take broad categories and then get down into the weeds. But that's.
I'm very much game for that. I would hate to have all Ed's work go for naught here. I would love to go with that because that was the basis, like Kim said, to literally just categorize these and prioritize them. Like, for example, the categories that you put forth, Ed, the Architectural Review Advisory Board doesn't really fall into any of those, so I would consider that a priority 3. But I'm just one person in the committee, and so I do agree that we should categorize, and I do believe it is a long list, and I don't know how we should go forth. Anyone else?
I mean, if we want, we can, Victor, because you have the document, can you create 3 or 4 more categories, and then as we go through, we can address it, so we don't have to come back for every category, and go through the list again and again.
Sure, absolutely.
So, we just go through the first time and then look at it comprehensively again and see if we want to change anything later.
So should we, can we share the screen? Can Victor share the screen and put it up, or should we all try to look at our own?
I'll share what I have, only because I unfortunately switched to a new computer today, so I don't have Excel, so I'm using Google Docs. So let me share this. Hold on a second. Share screen. Come on.
Could I ask a question in the interim while he's working on that? I'm looking at a spreadsheet. It's the same spreadsheet from June of 2019. And under the leader column, it had everything assigned. Under the partners, it had everything assigned, and it had status. So I'm just curious as to why we're starting all over again. Why we don't at least reference this prior spreadsheet that had a lot of work already done. Are you familiar with the spreadsheet I'm talking about, anyone?
Yes.
And that it's all filled in?
Yeah, I'm looking at that one, and I have the other one. That's why I was trying to figure it out.
Why is our world changing and we're starting all over again? I guess that's my question.
Sandy, I'm just going to put a thought out there. I think when we met last time, the focus was complete streets. And I know in discussions with Mayor Murata, who is at the meeting this evening, I know that's a focus of the council as well. And if you see in the spreadsheet that Victor put together, that is one of the things that we're trying to kind of call out of the other spreadsheet in this one, which are in fact one and the same as far as items go, maybe not in the same order. But complete streets was one of the items we wanted to glean out of the spreadsheet, as well as we had a discussion, you may recall, about who had leadership of the items, the particular items. And there was some confusion. The plan was put together back in 2015, and tasks were assigned to whether it be Parks and Rec or Open Space Commission. And I think there was some concerns that it didn't belong with those particular parties. I don't know if it's a matter of semantics. We don't need to amend the plan of conservation and development to change who the leader is on a task. That's what this body can do. I think that's why this next step was created.
Okay, I don't want to beat this dead horse here, but I think it would have been helpful, it's just my idea, if we had put down the leader as originally suggested, and then we could take a look at it and say, no, let's change that. But with the leader and the partners being blank, it's like starting all over again. And that's all I'll say. I am perfectly fine with going along with what everybody wants to do, but I'm just seeing that as possibly a time saver. And then add the column. I understand about the complete streets now, and I understand about adding priority, and that makes perfect sense. So
And maybe because we don't have that filled out here, may I suggest that, you all have the hard copy, right? So maybe we just look at it while we are deciding, and then question may come up why, in 19 it was down. Why are we changing it? So I think that would be a little easier rather than going back and forth. And does that sound?
Okay, I'm fine with anything. It was just, I had to comment
Yep.
because I thought a lot of work had already been done. I've put work into it earlier with, what would affect our commission. So that's what I'm referring to, but
Okay.
I'll mute and leave it and stop. Thank you.
No, appreciate it. Thank you. I think, so as I said, I think everybody should have that older copy. Right? So we can just go. So, yeah, so I think architecture review and then design review board, all those are not, I think somehow they might be related when a project comes about and you are looking at a project and trying to figure out some of the concepts may be brought in by the design review board or whoever and say, are you compliant with the complete street program, or the concept, right? Anyone else? Any comments on that?
Dimple, I really think we need to take and take this long list. And as Ed has said, and we discussed last time, to really cut out the broad categories rather than getting down into the nitty gritty. That's my thought here.
So I think that's what we will do, right? We are going through, we are going from top to bottom, right? So we can just go one by one, and right? Unless someone else has other idea how we tackle this monster. It's a huge spreadsheet. That's the problem.
If there's
Right
a question,
now, if everybody's done their homework, and I know that's a lot of tasks involved, and maybe what needs to happen is we need to give people the other spreadsheet that had all the other, as Sandy indicated, the different leaders, and give everybody both spreadsheets, and then take the items, cull them out into, say, maybe 5 major categories, and we probably can certainly do that. And then divide it up into those 5 categories, and at that point, talk about leaders.
Kim, can I share what I did,
Yes.
and that's something that you think is appropriate?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so let me see if I could share my screen.
And while we wait for Ed, do you have that other spreadsheet? The one I'm looking at is like all colored up in blue and orange and green. Do we have that?
That I don't have on this computer. It's
No,
on my-
but is it available to us spreadsheet wise?
Yes,
I think Sandy said she's worked on it too. She might have a copy.
yes, I don't have it on, this is my personal laptop.
No, I understand that. I'm just asking, do we have it? Because we can take it and just add a couple columns and maybe parcel everything out like Ed's done, organize it like him, and then redistribute it.
So what I thought, where I was heading, from our last meeting, was to try to get the things that I am personally interested in regards to Walk Bike Rocky Hill on one piece of paper, so that we could hand it to whomever and we could discuss it. So you could see the categories. These are all POCD items. I didn't take anything other than the adopt a complete streets. I added that one in there myself because that's what we were discussing, complete streets. But everything else is under the category. Now, I didn't know, I thought that establish a riverway trail was one of the real priorities that we were discussing. So I left that separate because I thought that was just an entity into itself. But the other categories are create an open space system, which, again, this comes from the POCD, establish and maintain a pedestrian plan, and then a bicycle plan, and then lastly, sustainability. So everything underneath those categories comes from the POCD. And I began to put the leaders on the side, and I was going to put the number, but I don't know how, we could look it up in the POCD and see what number they are. So that's what I did. And so I don't know where if that helps, if you want to, where we go after that.
I think it has other broader goals and objectives as well, right? In the bigger spreadsheet, like other than, so I'm not sure if we can put all these categories that we have into this 5, because they are like trail related, open space, pedestrian, bicycle, right? I think I saw like there were some other categories as well that may need breakdown into further categories.
Right.
We can start with this. We can start with this and see where we go.
So is it the idea then for the plan implementation committee for everybody sort of in their department to come up with their priorities? Is that not? Sandy Kelly, open space, and then Marty with economic development. Is that the goal then? It's a big to go back and to take your priorities and bring those priorities to the forefront.
Right, because I think there are a lot, as I said, a lot of other policies in the bigger spreadsheet and in the POCD. So I think we can combine into 1 or 2, and because that would be just focused on pedestrian related or, whatever, and then pedestrian bicycle or whatever. And then there would be economic development. There would be another one, on a larger focus. So I think that's what I think, would make sense. I don't know, Lisa, do you have any?
Yeah, so Ed, what you created is unique to your interest. Is that what you're? Yeah, because but I think I agree with Dimple. Is everyone should just have one. Well, we have the POCD. It's not like we need to recreate it, right? But yeah, we do need to focus on the economic development and all of those other things. So yeah, Dimple, I agree with what you're saying.
Yep. So I think maybe what we do is and I know, as I said, this is going to be a huge project, at least a couple of meetings. Other than we just start hammering it out right now and maybe do 3 pages at a time and then come back and do 3 more. I think we'll be just talking in circle. So, let's just start putting pen to paper and then we'll see when this is completed. We'll see where it ends up. Make sense?
Yes, I think it does. I think the reason why there's nothing under leader, partners, and status is because I just didn't type them in. There was no rhyme or reason to that. I just didn't type them in because this document that we have in front of us is basically cut and paste. They're not Excel. It's not Excel, so that's why we had to retype it. It is just cut and paste from the PDF version of the POCD.
Yep.
So, is it fair to say that we just need to come up with like 5 or 6 categories of basically economic? We can do open space. We can do P&Z, and we can do what else do you guys think as we look through this document?
Complete streets.
Well, Complete Streets has its own thing. So we have
That's
Complete
correct.
Streets.
Yeah.
Complete Streets. I'm writing it down so I can do this here. We have economic.
Yeah.
We have, is it fair to say that we can categorize everything having to do with pedestrian, bicycles? We can just put walk, bike, ride, and as that as a category, and then we can go back and get finite, whether it's pedestrian, whether it's biking, whether it's,
Yeah.
so we'll make walk, bike, ride a category.
Yep.
What else do we need to consider? I mean, we have farm on here, we have river on here, we have, do we need to, we have
Historic.
transportation.
Yep.
So do we don't want to create too many. Should there to be just like town after that, or infrastructure, or?
I'm wondering if under complete streets as the umbrella is the walk, bike, ride, whatever that we were saying, because that is complete streets. So to parse them apart, is just creating more work.
Okay, done.
And then
so now we
Ed
have
had
complete
said,
street.
yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I just want to recap that we have complete streets, which encompasses walk, bike, ride, and we have economic. Just looking for a couple more categories, and then we can start this process. And we can create categories as we go along if we think we don't know what they are as we go. I mean, we can just say that is this or that is that, and we can just start. I hate to sit here and just figure out what we're going to do rather than just starting and doing something.
Do you have
Natural
P&Z
resources?
as well as a category?
Ed, I'm sorry.
You had P&Z as a category, right?
It can be. It can be. And so you want open space to be one, or do you want to just basically say a commission, and then we can go back and say which commission after that?
I think what will happen in that case is because we have a leader and we have partners.
Yeah.
So I think by identifying P&Z as a category, we are identifying partner, or so it gets confusing there. So I think it should be a separate category, so that based on the 3 or 4 categories, then we can assign leader as P&Z, open space, economic, whatever.
Looking at the table of contents for the 2015 plan and implement, I can't say it, the pick. There's already kind of categories there. You can say conservation, development, infrastructure, future, implementation. It's all kind of laid out.
Yeah.
We have it. We have them. Let's go. It's perfect.
Yeah, it's kind of there.
What page is that, Steve?
It's kind of like the index, I guess, table of contents of the plan of conservation.
Yep. Conservation, development, infrastructure, future land.
You just got infrastructure would be where you drop in the complete streets, because you have conservation. So that's going to be your open space, your farming, your trails, development. That's going to be probably your economic development portion of it. Planning issues going to be your zoning part of it, I would think. And or future land use could probably combine 3 and 7 together. And 6 is infrastructure.
That sounds genius, because then you can reference that book, right? Like, it's so much easier.
Yeah, and then we can reference chapter and, I don't know if there's sub-chapter numbers or chapter and page or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's do that then. It's
Okay, so if that's the case, then the first one would be, well, these are all coming from the same area. So architecture review would be.
Do you want to identify on the top just the different categories?
I was going to do it right here.
Oh, okay. Okay.
All right, so the first one is Architecture Review Advisory Board. So would that just be town? Would that be?
I'm gonna say that's probably planning.
I think
Okay, so that'd
probably
be the same.
future
it'd be the
land
same
use
for the
plan.
second one.
Is a future land use plan, because it says plan consistency. So, and probably they would be looking at,
It's all planning,
Yep.
planning, future and land use. It's all kind of the
Yep.
same thing, planning.
Steve, can you make that a little larger, buddy?
What are you
This
asking,
is
Ed?
me. This is Victor.
It's
I'm
Victor
sharing my
doing that.
screen.
Oh, I'm sorry, Victor. Sorry, man. Here, maybe I
No
check
worries.
you. Here, I got it. You're all right. I'm good. I'm good.
so second we're
design
planning
review.
to, Yep.
Design
Planning.
review process.
same planning. Right. I mean, there are a couple here starting from 3. They are like town-wide categories, right? I mean, it's
Okay, so if instead of going one by one here, we can all literally see this on the screen and take like a minute and read these and basically say, first of all, do any of these fall under the complete streets thing category, and then or economic or planning, because those are the 3 categories we have right now. And then if they don't, then let's come up with a 4th category and go forward. Unless someone has a better idea, but we can still go one by one, but it seems laborious.
Looks like number 9. Well, no, I guess that's not 9.
that's a town-wide. Yep. It's, I mean,
Well, they're needed.
open space 490 is open space.
We could certainly do this as a homework assignment,
Yes.
which may be a useful thing to do.
You know, I absolutely second that. We've been at this for close to 40 minutes and we're on like item 2, and this is a big job. If we could get hold of that spreadsheet from before that has a lot of categories filled in,
I will
and
give
at
that
least
to you.
disseminate that so that we could say yes, no, maybe, but for us to kind of start all over tonight and recreate this wheel is huge. It's wonderful, Victor, that you sent this out, and it's what we need, but we have to have we kind of have a clear starting point, a clear path to get this done. This is big.
And I mean, I think I agree. What I was trying to do here is, if we go through like maybe a page or 2, we will get into that mindset about what is what category. And so when you are doing homework, we can all just have that mindset, everybody on the same page, and we can categorize, otherwise what you may identify as a town, I will identify as economic development or something else, so we will be in the same, on square one again when we discuss this. So I think like trying to get our feet wet and just understand different categories, like how we are doing it, probably that would help. I mean, I don't know what others think, and then we can call it a day,
That sounds good. I do agree with Sandy. I agree with you, Jimple. Maybe take another 5 minutes and go through the bottom of the first page, so we all understand how to go about it, right?
Yep.
Can we do that? Just give it 5 minutes, 5 more minutes, Sandy. Just to do the front, and that's all. Just so
You don't have to get my permission, but thank you. But I think a time limit till 7 o'clock. All right. It looks like we have a lot of other things. Let's see where we can go and see what we feel good about. If we go, 10 lines and we feel good, well, good for us. Pat ourselves on the back and let's move on. And we figured out how to do it. And then next time we can roll right into it.
And I think what we all agree is that this would be a homework and not do this in this type of setting, because otherwise we'll be spending a lot of time going through items. So maybe everybody goes through and submits it to Kim, and everybody is, and then she can break it down into different things.
And
I ask,
Dimple, could I add one other thing?
Yeah.
For instance, I focused on the pieces that affected the commission that I'm on. I didn't focus on planning and zoning. I didn't even pretend to know if you should be involved or not. I don't have that expertise, but I can look at the things that affect open space, inland wetlands, and feel very competent on putting a priority and that we're in charge, and then I'm done. And I think if each one of us did that with what affects us, we'd be way better, we'd be ahead, and we'd probably have more of a concrete basis in this document.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an option as well. I mean, I think whoever is comfortable with identifying whichever categories, that's fine. If somebody wants to do the entire thing, that's fine as well, based on, I mean, I think I'm just giving an option, like, rather than constraining somebody and say, well, you don't have expertise on this side, so just focus on this. I think it's, as I said, I mean, this is like a working group. So everybody, I mean, I may be on P&Z, but I might be good at economic development as well. So maybe I can, so I'm just giving option, like however members want to fill out.
So just a
can I
question
ask a
for.
question as an outsider who went through a little bit of this with Weathersfield. Sandy, would it make sense if the way that the other document was that you said was already filled in, did it have all the categories filled in before? Would it be something that everybody could look at and say, I agree or I disagree, and sort of move forward?
It did, Anne, and that's exactly what I'm saying, is that at least it would be a starting point.
I'm just thinking like people could look at them to Dimple's idea, like go through them and just, instead of having to come up with it, like just sort of see what you guys came up with and does it still make sense? Or maybe there's been shifted priorities.
Exactly. And I don't know, Kim, do you know who has this? Does somebody have this from June 2019?
I have that on my computer at work.
And it's got the color coding. I mean, it's got great. If we could, just my thought, if we could all have that to share, that would be nice.
But
if not, I can convert it from a PDF to an Excel.
Okay, and you have the same one, Steve, from.
Yeah, I have, if I have it as a PDF, I can easily, I say easily, I can convert it. You might lose some of the formatting, but it's formatting.
Okay.
So if that's the case, which is absolutely a great idea, as a point of order of how this committee works, is there a way that we can just share the document to everybody on this panel and go in there and do our corrections and save it, and so everybody else can see it? I mean, that's the premise of Google Docs. And I know that everything has to go through Kim. So Kim, it sounds like you're going to have to share the document for everybody to see.
Okay. So it'll have to be done in Google Docs.
Does it just make sense for us to actually, like you said, Sandy, you did your stuff, go in there, put your stuff in, and then everybody can see what you did, and then we fill around what's in there, and everybody can say to Kim, okay, did my part, and send an email, and that way Kim can keep track of who did what, and that way everybody has an input. I'm not saying that it's like a roll call and you have to do something or whatever it is. I'm just saying, all I'm saying is that it seems like that we're going to talk ad nauseum about it rather than doing it at our leisure and get it as a shared document. So that way the next meeting, we can literally go through the entire document and we all have it in front of us because we've all looked at it over the last month and a half, or whatever the next meeting is.
I think that's great. And I agree with Dimple that it doesn't have to just be your commission. If he has, if I had thoughts on economic development, well, I could put in some comments. We're not restricted. My point was just that you'd feel more confident if it was your area. But I think that's great. I think Google Docs, we all take a look at it. Great. And then I think, not to hijack everything, to get a deadline. If our next meeting is in 2 months, in 6 weeks, make your comments so that it will give Kim time to do what she needs to do with it, so that it could be finished and people could take a look at it. Just a thought.
Yeah, and I think that's great. And what we'll do is, so it will be due by certain time, and then Kim will organize it and then send it out again to people, and then we can discuss, so at least everybody will have a chance, and then we can discuss it on, right on the screen.
Great. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, good idea.
And when you take a look at the spreadsheet, if you would keep in mind a focus on complete streets, what you feel should be, as Victor did with his spreadsheet, what should be under that category, or what you feel should be under that category. And also think of Sustainable Connecticut, which will be at least introducing the topic later this evening.
So whoever posts the sheet in the Google Doc, can you put those as a column? Add that to a column. We have a leader, we have a partner. Just add the columns that you think that need to be added, Kim. That way we can fill them in, and whether they need to be color coded or whatever. Because if you're going to rip this thing into an Excel file or a Google Doc, it's literally just adding a column so we know what to fill out.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be great. And I'll gladly help if you need me to.
Okay.
So everybody on board for the path moving forward? All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next item was complete streets, and it has 5 components like sidewalk plan, connectivity to the river, connectivity to Weathersfield Meadows, bicyclists, accessibility for all. And I think Steve and others had put together the sidewalk plan. So do we want to get into that? Kim, do you want to?
Could I just announce something? I know Dimple and I talked about this briefly. I did reach out to Ann separately, and I know Ann, I think she's still present, I'm not sure. And also Peter Gillespie about setting up a separate meeting where the focus could just be that topic, complete streets. As you can see by just going over the spreadsheet, we kind of are all over the place. We need to focus on a particular item. So what I've done is I'm proposing to Dimple and to this body that we have a special meeting on March 3rd, where we will discuss with Ann Hartman and Peter Gillespie complete streets, the process that is involved with the program, and some of the success stories that they've seen. And then also get down into the weeds with respect to connectivity with the meadows. Weathersfield has a project going on with Goodwin University to bring pathways over the Route 3 bridge and connect to the meadows in Weathersfield. And we would like to at least explore connecting the meadows in Rocky Hill. We would also invite the property owners. They are very important in this. But I put that out there, a special meeting on March 3rd. It's a first Wednesday in March at 6 p.m. for this group to focus on complete streets.
A great idea.
Yes, I think the intent was to give the presenter complete time, so they don't have to rush in like 10 minutes. And it will be their show, so.
You want me to blow through these maps real quick that we did?
Yeah, yep.
All right. So the first one is the Sidewalks 2016 Master Plan. I would just say, let's put that aside. I know Ed has it. He posted it up there. It's a little dated. So I'm just gonna say, let's skip that one. Let's go to the next one. It's called Sidewalk 2021 Sidewalk Locations by Type and Date. And for some reason, there's a perception with some folks that there are gaps, but there's a perception that nothing's been happening. So this map shows sidewalks that were out there pre-2000, between 2000 and 2020 in the last 20 years, and then some areas that we can look at. And then I also have some that are asphalt. There's a few. We don't like asphalt sidewalks for many reasons. We like them because they hold up under salt. And then we also have private sidewalks, like up, if you look at the Century Hills, those are all asphalt and they're all private. They're on private property. So if you look at the red, that was there pre-2000. All right, and I picked that date because it's 20 years, nice block of time, and that's when I started working for the town of Rocky Hill. So from 2000 to 2020, all the purple was added. And you could see there's a bunch of gaps that were filled. We went up and down Route 3 quite a bit. I said that Silas Deane Highway is new because being reconstructed as a streetscape. Our focus over the last 20 years has been filling the gaps and around the schools. So you see around all the school areas, we're pretty much sidewalk all the way around. Areas that we're looking at that we've either heard people talk to us or that kind of makes sense are in blue. As I stated last time, Elm Street Sidewalk is a state-funded project. We do have basically a commitment from the state. We have to get out there, do the survey. Kind of hard right now with 2 feet of snow on the ground. So, and then any project with the state, it's going to take time. I have plans in May, and it's probably going to be a year out before they get all the reviews. So it's going to take some time. It won't start till at least next year. So, questions on this plan or comments?
So, Steve, yeah, I did have a question on the term study. You said sidewalk study location. So what does that mean? What does that definition of that mean?
Well, we don't want to commit and say we're going to do it if we can't, if there's some physical barrier or monetary barrier that just makes it, cost prohibitive, or it just can't be done. So we're saying we'll look at these areas. I don't want to say future sidewalks and then somebody has the plan and says, you said you were going to do this and now all of a sudden we can't.
Okay.
So we got to study it and see if it's feasible.
So in essence, though, this is the future, and if it's feasible.
If it's feasible, the funds are there.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Now, a quick word about funding. Right now, all our projects are done using LoCIP money, and for LoCIP money, it has to be identified in the capital improvement plan every year. So we put in roughly $100,000. The one thing with that is projects over $50,000, you have to follow CHRO. And if anybody's familiar with that, it's to help small businesses, disabled businesses, minority-owned, women-owned businesses. And so they'll want roughly, so let's just say anywhere from generally like 25% of the work to go to one of these people. Well, the sidewalk guys, it's a company of a single owner and like 3 or 4 employees. He's already a small business, or she's already a small business. And then they expect them to farm out more. So it makes it very difficult to do a larger project without funding. And that's only because it's a state project. Well, it's not a state project, it's state money, the CIP. So we'd have to fund that in our budget and not use the LoCIP. We could do other projects. We don't have to follow the CHRO.
Steve, if I could follow up, I was speaking with Jim Salmi, who said that the LoCIP also, most of the money you use that for is for repairing.
Yes.
And what Jim was saying was that, and it's good that Mayor Murad is here, is that we could use more funding from the town if that's a possibility. He was saying it's better, it's easier to get sidewalks.
Yes.
If we had it in our budget.
Well, that's what I was just saying, because with LoCIP, I kind of max out at 50,000. When I get to 50,001, Then now I have to file CHRO. These people, whoever bids it, have to produce a plan that's, 10, 15, 20 pages long on how they're going to do these things. It's, if you, I can show you one. It's crazy. So for $50,000, so we do gaps. We also do new construction with that money, but this is a regulation that's only been around for about 4 or 5 years. Prior to that, we could go as far as that money took us.
And I can speak to that just a little bit. One of the things that we've done under the new administration is set up a capital improvement plan subcommittee. So that subcommittee meets quarterly. And right now we are creating a list similarly to what you guys are doing, right? Of different things that we'd like to see done in town without having to borrow the funding to do it. And it's going to take time to build up those piggy banks, but we feel it's really important that we identify things the same way you are. And every year we put some certain aside so that when you guys are ready to do a project, at least a good chunk of that money is there. So that's in the works. That's what I can
Makes sense.
Steve, another question. As far as adding any more blue lines on here, could we, how would we go about that?
Well, we can always, study areas. I'm not sure where you have in mind, but we went through and picked out this. A lot of this is from that 2015 thing, but we went through and picked out a lot of areas that seem to make sense for connectivity. Brook Street, West Street. That's one area that we've looked at. It's almost, I wouldn't say impossible, but it's going to be very, very difficult to go over the highway in that area.
I was thinking of, Telesano Park to Sewilla Park.
That would be probably more like a trail, I would think. Plus, we're on private lands there. So I'm not showing anything on private lands.
Well, lost your map.
Lost our map. I think John put that up, right, John?
Well, if I have any suggestions for blue, can I just send them to you then?
Yeah.
Right.
It's a living document. And to do the amount of work you see there with doing $100,000 a year, it's going to take 20 years.
That's a great map, man. Really good job. Really nice map.
So next up, there are 2 maps, one that Bob did and then one that I did, just showing the area that we're talking about. The big focus is around town center. And, the one I did, you can see here that
can we show that?
Yeah, I don't know. John, you there? I thought John was popping these up. Yeah, no, I'm not sure.
I have it if he's not. I could show it.
I have it. I'm not sure who's sharing the screen before.
Victor is.
Victor's.
There you go.
Okay, that's
Sorry,
Bob's
yes,
map.
I am.
The other one I think is a little easier to read. No, Steve?
Yeah, I just took Bob's map, kind of did some stuff.
One, yeah, that one's pretty easy to read.
So first and foremost, what I did is this took quite a bit of time for the sheer reason that I tried to get it about as accurate as I could, putting in the DOT right of ways. Elm Street's a DOT right of way, Main Street, Old Main, Washington, Riverview, they're all old DOT roads. So I took all the old DOT maps, put them in by I'm gonna say meets and bounds, where there's actually angles and distances, to try and get as accurate as possible, overlaid as accurate as possible. When I do that, I can see that on the north side of Glastonbury Avenue, there might be a chance to put sidewalk. I say might. It's a very narrow right of way. It's actually 50-foot right of way with the pavement, but you have a lot of fences, a lot of trees, a lot of plantings that are probably encroaching. So without the benefit of a survey, we don't know. South side, it's a line of telephone poles, and we're almost right up against it with the right of way. So probably wouldn't be happening on the south side. As you get further east, you can see sidewalks by others. That's part of the Foundry project, and they show, by the maps I have, they show going down, running into the park, and then running south. So that's why it's showed in the dotted line. Red is by others. Dotted line is not there. I don't know when it's going to be there. No, but that's, to be built by someone else. It's all on private property. There's going to be an easement for that sidewalk on Glastonbury Ave. And then I'm not sure how they're handling it through the foundry. So, but like, as we were talking, some easy things right now will be down Washington. We probably have, we have the right of way. There might be some spots there with trees or hydrants or whatever we got to maneuver around, but that one could probably be done sooner than later. So get you partway there.
And I think that's true. Like you have to deal with the right of way, private properties and all that stuff. So it can take years and years. So, you take like low hanging fruit and see where you can do it quick and at least connect, the riverfront.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, we're looking at a spot on Belden Lane, and the problem with Belden Lane is there's like a 42-inch pipe, and the road basically goes right up almost to the edges of it. So it would require a pedestrian bridge, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Or do we dump the people? You can kind of see, you can send next to the blue line, you see the little dotted line, that's the guide rail, that's the edge of the pavement.
Yeah.
So very difficult to go in there without a lot of infrastructure work.
Now, why Belden Lane over Pratt? Keep on going down Pratt.
You're gonna have the same problem down lower on Pratt. Is the land drops off like a 2-to-1 slope into the wetlands into is that Hogbrook, Bob?
Belden.
So the reason why that wasn't done was because if you continue down Pratt Street, you are going to be basically taking land, taking properties, going into eminent domain. There is hardly any right of way there. There is a big drop off of where any construction of sidewalks will go. So the obvious ways that we saw going, at least along that stretch, was to utilize Belden instead. It will be a lot cheaper, and it's something that is doable. Even with a pedestrian bridge, it's something that could possibly be done in the future. I'm not saying the near future, but I'm saying sometime down the line. Washington Street is an easy one. Washington Street is very easy to accomplish. It's only 1,300 linear feet. Taking into account a 4-foot sidewalk is I think the price on it, today's price was around $80,000.
About $60 a foot.
$60 a foot, around $80,000.
On Washington Street?
Along Washington Street. Now, that is, you decide to do 4-foot sidewalks. The committee needs to see whether or not we need to start going wider to a 5-foot sidewalk. The sidewalk that is being done by Riverfront Future Partners along Glastonbury Avenue into Lozano Park is a 5-foot sidewalk. And you might want to consider that it's a pedestrian sidewalk to the river. You might want to consider having it a little wider, a 5-footer, if we have the right of way to do so. And of
Let me
course,
elaborate on
4
that.
feet versus 5 feet will be a 20% increase.
Yeah. And Bob, on the 4-foot versus 5-foot, ADA compliance is they want a 5-foot by 5-foot area every 200 feet for
Every 200
bypass.
feet, yeah.
So you can go a 5-foot sidewalk the whole way, like Bob was saying. It's more conducive for the pedestrians. Our new sidewalk out there on Silas Dean is actually going to be 6 feet when you add in the brick banding. But what we're saying is when you go the 4-foot sidewalk every 200 feet, you have a driveway you're crossing roughly every 100 feet. So it kind of gives you your bypass. And then also on Pratt Street, you asked about Pratt Street, also gets pretty steep on that section.
Very steep.
It's very, very, very steep.
Very steep.
It's almost, I don't want to say impossible, but very, very hard to do.
I've walked it many
also,
times.
Just to get back to Glastonbury Avenue, and I don't want to take too much of your time, but the north side of Glastonbury Avenue has the least amount of poles.
Yeah.
You're still dealing with 3 or 4 poles along the side as you go down Glastonbury Avenue, closer to Washington Street, but it's a lot more doable than it will be on on the south side of Glastonbury Avenue. Is also something that we should be looking at. Again, Washington, I mean, to me, I would suggest that Washington Street be the higher priority, then Glastonbury Avenue, and then followed by Pratt Street and Belden Lane, because at some point, something is going to happen with Ames. And it will be nice to tie it all together, not just utilize one area with sidewalks, but have sidewalks all the way around it, and finish up creating your town center.
I think it makes sense to look at the 5 foot, because while you are doing a sidewalk, 4 feet versus 5 feet, you get a better sidewalk, and you're meeting all the ADA requirements, and it looks nicer. So, and you're just going to do this once, so might as well do 5 footer.
So if we could just move, Victor, could you move that a little west so we could see Ferry Park and Cerwilla Park? So we made it down as far as Tolosano Park.
Mm-hmm.
But have you given any thought to getting to Ferry Park and to Cerwillo? Because currently there's no sidewalks.
And
there's no right of way either.
So I looked at it. I actually looked at it going towards Ferry Park, and to do Ferry Park, to be honest with you, we need to engage the Connecticut DOT, the state of Connecticut, to help us out. One of the options actually that you have to have pedestrian traffic towards Ferry Park and to have a sidewalk built, I was thinking that we could be shifting, utilizing the same right-of-way that we have and shifting the paved portion of Meadow Road into Ferry Park due west and create a shelf so you can have basically a sidewalk along the frontage of, say, 263, 273, and what used to be Shad Road. And that would take you right by the ramp of Ferry Park.
Yes.
Yeah. As I was saying, there's like no right of way there. So, I mean, the road's taking up the whole right of way right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much of an opportunity. Another thing we could possibly look at is going up the railroad track and cutting down through their boat house thing there, where the captain's house.
And also a temporary easement, basically. Also, if the landowners, homeowners are willing to grant an easement, that will be an option that also could be explored. So we can perhaps have we just want to. We do not want people. I mean, people do it right now, but it would be nice to get those people off the road and have them walk on a sidewalk instead of the pavement,
There is a sidewalk now, where on that Shad Road property, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So it does exist now, one already. It's just connected from there to Tolosano Park. And so Steve, could we, or Bob, could we possibly put a blue line there? And I mean, it is an area of study, right?
Eventually, I know it'll be a high priority to you, Ed, but that's going to come with a huge cost.
But it is.
I mean, we can look at it.
Would you
agree?
Something
that we should be look. It's something that could be looked at. Yes,
it could be looked at.
Something that should be looked at, because we are, this is, connection to the river, and connection to the river doesn't mean just connection to Tolosano Park.
And listen,
connection to Ferry Park, connection to Cerrillo Park, and other parks that might be, that we can utilize. Yeah.
But also walking in Ferry Park, you're walking in a parking lot.
Yeah, it's all parking lot.
Walking in Ferry Park is dangerous.
Yeah, there's really no park there.
So that's what I'm saying. So not only do we have to get a sidewalk to Ferry Park, we have to have a sidewalk along the bathroom.
I'm just trying to look at it.
Right on the side, right where the ramp is now, there's a ramp. We could put a sidewalk right to the picnic table, right to the river. And then you can have, you can make it disabled for people with disabilities to get down there.
Well, That's something we could probably look at when we do that parking lot where, part of this referendum we have now is to do all the parking lots. That one's not at the top of the list right now, but it's something we could definitely look at.
Steve, can we go back to the 5 foot versus the 4 foot
Sure.
and then those increments where you get to that 5 foot every 100 feet, I think you said?
Every 200 feet, you have to have a 5 foot by 5 foot square.
Okay.
So it allows for passing of ADA compliant vehicles,
Yeah. I'm just
wheelchairs or
wondering-
scooters.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, when you do all 5 feet, are we omitting the opportunity to have bikes running up and down that road?
Well, right now, the way we do our sidewalks is, say in a new subdivision, we have a 50-foot right of way. 30 feet of it's the road, and we leave, in theory, 10 feet on either side for utilities, sidewalks, and the such. The sidewalk is usually 1 foot off the property line. So you go property line, 1 foot, sidewalk, 4 feet, and then you have a 5 foot snow shelf. So by narrowing it up, now you only have a 4 foot snow shelf. And then, as you know, 50% of the people want sidewalks, 50% don't, because they have to maintain them, and they're afraid if somebody falls, they're gonna get sued and all that. So it's, you also have that, and I mean, we're getting phone calls about people, why is there snow on my yard? And that came in this week. Well, we just had a foot of snow. It's gotta go somewhere where we plow.
Yeah.
So-
All right, I get it. Yeah, thank you.
Yep. It's a balancing act.
Are obligated, I'm sorry.
No,
You
so
muted
Steve-
yourself.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The dogs need to go out and no one else is home to walk them. So I apologize if you hear baying in the background. We're obligated under Complete Streets and ADA to provide that handicap accessibility on sidewalks. And also under, with respect to Sustainable Connecticut. So we do have to seriously take a look at either the 5 foot walkways, the total length of the walkway, and or that 5 foot area of refuge, basically, for turning abilities. So that will have to be taken a look at.
Now, Steve, have you guys, or in the past, any discussion with DOT about, sidewalk or moving the road or whatever to give us the sidewalk to the ferry park?
No,
No.
not at all.
Okay.
First of all, DOT is not gonna build a sidewalk.
No,
All
right,
the sidewalks on,
Yep.
well, all the sidewalks on Route 3, they said, you want to build them, fine, but we're not responsible. We're not maintaining them, nothing. We did get them to commit on the bridge that they just did on Elm Street, that they said they would maintain the sidewalks on the bridge, because that would be cost prohibitive for the town to ever fix those. Plus the bridge deck membrane and all that, it's a specialty to fix those. But after that, it's all on us for sidewalks. And usually the realignment of the roads. So that's all we'd have to talk to them about.
No, because what I'm saying is, even touching the state road, you have to go through hoops. So
Oh, yeah.
I'm just trying to see whether it's a non-starter to just think about sidewalk connecting Tolosano Park and Ferry Park. Is that, non-starter, or there is a hope? That's what I'm trying to gauge,
And we'd have to find the right people at DOT
Yep.
to talk to.
It's got to be a hope. Otherwise, we're never going to connect to the river. It's only going to be Tolosano Park.
Yeah, I mean,
What if you
really need to get a better handle on the road, the buildings, and all that, where it can go.
I think we had to study it, and I think we had to try it. I mean, because it's something that should be at least looked at.
Yeah, study. A blue line for study.
I'm thinking, like I said, it might be easiest to go down the railroad track and through the piece of state land that they have that captain's house. That's going to be the path of least resistance, I think, except when you get on the railroad, there's other issues because it is running now, but
You're going to go on the.
you'd have to put a fence separating.
I bet Jim Mitchell would let you go along his restaurant if he ever gets it going.
Of course. Yeah.
I bet he
Yeah,
would.
that just, there's a wall there. It's not Jim Mitchell.
No, on the, between the train depot and the.
Oh, yeah, train. Well, he doesn't own that. I mean, he only owns to a certain portion. he's been going back and forth with the DOT about parking over there.
Right.
All right, so we have discussed a lot about this plan, right? So it looks like the feasible alternative is Washington Street in the immediate future. If we are looking at anything else, it's going to be a longer term, right?
Yeah, and as I said, with an estimate of $80,000, excuse me, $80,000, if you went 5 feet wide, now you're at $100,000. That would have to be budgeted for because lots of money would have to go to bid.
Yep.
And then have to follow CHRO and getting guys, excuse me, guys to bid that. There's only 3 or 4 guys who do sidewalks now.
Mhm.
And for them to spend that kind of time and effort to fill out those forms, for some of them, it's beyond them.
Yep.
They want nothing to do with it.
We'll keep it under $99,000, or we'll keep it
No,
under
it's gotta be
$100,000, and we'll make it work.
49,000, Bob.
We're gonna make it. We'll make it work.
Or they need to change the law to make it, a little more user friendly because they're hurting.
And anything over 100,000 is prevailing wages.
What depends on what the project is.
So
Whether it's repair, new construction, or repair, it's different.
Steve, Justin asked in the chat, he said, can you come up Shipyard Park, then add a sidewalk on Riverview?
If I'm putting one on Washington, I'm not sure Shipyard. I know what you're saying there.
That's a question from Justin.
Yeah. I mean, we can show it.
If you're ready, I just
could show
figured
a blue line on every road in town.
my only question was if we're having a hard time with how to connect that one little section. I didn't know if it was possible, but then you have to cross the train track and that creates other complications. I don't know. I love Shipyard Park and I love my little Riverview Road. That's all.
Oh, it's a great road. Love it. I walk it. Well, my walking partner's retired, but I walked it all the time. At lunch.
Yeah, crossing the railroad, it's another nightmare. It will take years, but all right. So I think one assignment last time was to look at the options, and we do have different options, and we know the time frame based on which option you choose. I mean, they might be feasible, but there might be timing involved, there might be money involved, so far it looks like Washington Street is a viable option, and maybe that's what we look at and we focus on and see what we can do there. So everybody on same page? Any comments on that? Concerns?
Great job. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
All right. So Steve, we can, if you can focus on that and see what we can do. And I think 5 foot would be a better choice while we are doing 4 foot. Might as well do 5 feet if feasible.
All right.
All right. So the next is bicyclists and accessibility for all. I think Kim, who was going to talk about those?
Well, I know this goes to Complete Streets, and I know we'll be talking about it more on March 3rd.
Okay.
I don't know if Walk Bike Rocky Hill has anything they wish to add concerning this. Accessibility for all, we talked about that with the sidewalks. Obviously, we need to pay attention to bicyclists. We need to pay attention to pedestrians, people, whether they be using walkers, canes, motorized scooters. We've had a lot of complaints recently about motorized scooters, especially along the Celestine Highway. And sidewalks need to be built through driveways. We have some older properties on Celestine Highway where sidewalks are not built through driveways. So we need to do that and keep vehicles from parking out in those areas. I don't know, Ed, if you had anything.
Sure. In regards to bicycling, we did put together a a bike map. And I think I shared it with most people, and I don't know how I don't know where that would go next in regards to trying to have that for a plan. You know, we don't have any bicycle routes per se in Rocky Hill. There's no bicycle signs in Rocky Hill. And I know that Weathersfield does have, you know, at least 3 connections to us. And one of the things about the Meadows, if we were to talk about the Meadows, is, you know, so many people using that and making that a bike route to connect to Weathersfield. So I don't know where that would go, Dimple, in regards to where do you bring that plan to the next step? You're muted, Dimple.
So I think for bicycles, probably we are looking at either state road or local roadways, right? We're not looking at sidewalks. So this would be a separate 2-3 feet line along state road or along local roads, right?
Well, we're not even asking for a line. Right now, I think the group has been talking about, you know, just some signage, you know, where you can put up one of those, not a bike sign, but it's, can't remember. Not just a sign, like a yellow sign with a bike on it, a bike route, you know, but not necessarily putting lanes. I mean, I guess my question is, Dimple, if we wanted that to move forward, we do have a plan. And I guess I'm asking you, where can we bring that if this group wants it to move forward?
So I think at one point last time we talked about financing, right? So that funding for that, and you know, we don't know what other funding sources are available, and that was one of the things we had talked about for Ray Carpentino, that maybe he can look at, because we heard last time that Glastonbury has a booklet for funding. So that was one of the, you know, items for Ray. And Marty, if you can please take a note of this and talk to Ray and say, can you look at, you know, what funding is available for these type of activities? I mean, you know, and Ed, you can also see, you know, with the other towns, what are they doing? I mean, where are they getting funding? Is that local funding? Is that state funding out there or whatever? I mean, because I think that would be the next step, right? Trying to, because you have the plan, you know where you want to put the signs and stuff. Now, next step is to fund it and do the project.
Well, we have an idea, but I think just like, you know, Steve and Bob showed, I mean, they know a lot more about the roads than you know, I mean, probably more limitations than we know, you know. So the plan is a draft, and I guess, I don't know if Craig wants to look through this as something, or Steve, or what, I don't know what the.
I mean, we can, and again, I don't want to talk for Steve and Craig, but we can have them look at it, see, you know, from feasibility perspective as well. You know, you don't want to have a sight distance issues when you're putting up signs and stuff like that. So probably they'll have to look at and say, you know, are these feasible in these locations? Right, Steve?
You gotta unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'll be all right. I was just looking at some of the prices of like some of the signs and stuff and the painting, just, you know, if that was a question. Just so you have an idea, it's like $70 or so a square foot to paint those bike symbols on the road. And yeah, I don't have the dimensions in front of me. I just don't have that detail here, but it's, you know, we have one spot where I have is like $8,000 to paint on the ground. It's a lot of money for paint. Signs probably a little cheaper. Signs about $30 or so, $40 a square foot.
Yep.
It's a little cheaper to put up the signs. And sorry, what your question, Dimple?
No, so what I was saying is Ed has drawn up plans that they have
Yep.
come up with, and what I said is probably your department will have to look at it and see whether it's feasible to put those signs at those locations.
Yeah.
Have not blocking right away, sight distance and
Yep.
stuff like that. So
absolutely.
probably,
I do have a sketch here. If this is the one he's talking about. Walk, bike, Rocky Hill, map by Chickarillo, 2020. And it has a bunch of numbers. I'm not sure what that one is. And then there's another one that shows no traffic, low traffic. So are those numbers where you had an idea for signs, or is that highlighting parks, I guess, maybe?
No, what we did, and I made one in Google Maps that I could send you, Steve. We connected all the parks. Basically, we created, the Rocky Hill Greenway, so that you could travel around, and we did it one time. We had a whole bunch of people that we did the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's 15 miles all the way around town. It connects every park, and it connects to also some of the farms, Hayes and Collins and Gilbert.
Yeah. See, I'm just wondering if that's this map here I have from you.
Yeah, I made one on, like I said, Google Maps.
I have it.
That look familiar? I don't know if you can see that or not.
Yeah, sort of like the outline of the town, right?
Yeah. Well, there's like.
We didn't put signs
15
anywhere. We just put
15 numbers on here. So I think this is the map you're talking about.
Yeah.
So you want like a bikeway along that. I see like a blue line with arrows, or I think it's arrows. Maybe that's flags.
so maybe what we can do is maybe Ed can share that and maybe talk to you, Steve and Craig, and see, what those are. But again, like as I said, I mean, I think you can all plan and you can have all these pretty pictures, but the next step would be finding, funding. I think that's the biggest thing. So, I don't want to speak for Lisa, but council has to prioritize. So I don't know, where that would fall within. But I think looking outside is always the best option based on what you guys know. I mean, you may hear, hey, Glastonbury got money from Historic Society or whatever, and say, hey, why Rocky Hill? Why don't you apply there? So maybe that's where Ray comes in, and you guys get together and say, hey, Ray, why don't you apply? We heard there is a application time coming up.
I do agree that it would be beneficial to have some type of, even just a one-page document that lists the potential funding sources for the group. I know from time to time will go online and look those up myself. And there's always an opportunity. And, it's not always big money that you need. Sometimes it can be a few $1,000s that you can get through various nonprofits, even through Central Connecticut Health District. You'd be surprised. You can get a few thousand here or there. It's another reason why I'm hoping the council is going to approve joining Sustainable Connecticut. I actually just had a meeting today about, talking about how the state is sort of moving into a new way to do trash and recycling and organics, food scrap. And there's funding for it. And Sustainable Connecticut part of that, we match it. So there are sources out there. It's really a matter of putting it all together so we can see it.
Marty, I think your phone is creating static.
Okay.
If you can mute it, that would be great.
Okay.
Thanks. All right, so does that, let's. John, can you mute Marty, or that's not possible from your side?
Yes, I can do it. Marty, if you want to come back, it's *6 on your phone, but I'm going to.
Yes, yeah, I'm on mute now.
All right, I'm going to mute.
Thank you. All right, so Ed, does that give you some direction as to,
Yes, certainly. Yeah, I could. I'll email the route, the bike, the Rocky Hill Greenway. I'll email that to Steve. Craig, would you like to see it as well again? Okay, buddy. All right. Thank you, Dimple.
Thank you. So I think going to next item is Sustainable Connecticut. I think.
I don't know if Lisa wants to participate also. I heard the presentation at the town council meeting from Jessica Leclerc with Sustainable Connecticut. They're affiliated with Eastern State Connecticut University, as well as there was a gentleman there, and I cannot pronounce his last name, so I apologize. He's with Green Bank. He is a resident in town. But I did introduce myself. I did reach out to Jessica Leclerc and introduce myself and tell them that the town council, based upon what I heard at the meeting, there was a good exchange of information about the nonprofit. And hopefully the town council will put forth a resolution so the town will register with the group. It is a nonprofit entity. There are several different activities and categories of activities that towns participate in. We receive points for when we complete activities such as farmland preservation, creating opportunities for biking, pedestrians, open space acquisition, green development, low impact development. So there's a variety of things. Affordable housing can piggyback on that as well. Infill housing, which is something that planning and zoning may be taking up. So I just wanted to introduce it. The town council needs to put forth a resolution signing us up for that. And in talking with Jessica Leclerc, they did offer to attend a meeting and to do a presentation on what is Sustainable Connecticut. They will partner with us and they will guide us through the process of becoming bronze certified after we have so many points and have done so many activities towards certification. Then there's also a silver certification as well. It's my understanding in talking with Jessica that anything the town has undertaken within the last 3 years, that's kind of an ongoing project that we could get credit for. For example, this Traska Farm, that's something we certainly could get credit for. Maybe the LED street lights, if that's a completed project, that may not be something we can get credit for. But that will certainly help. And it's my understanding, and Lisa, you can correct me if I'm wrong, PIC may be kind of taking the lead on that in the future, if that's some way the town council wants to go. So Lisa, if you wanted to embellish that, you could.
Yeah, I think that's really essentially it. We spoke about it at the last council meeting. Sustainable CT has actually a draft resolution that we just literally fill in. Rocky Hill wants to do this. Then you have to assign a committee to oversee the action plans. So basically if you go on Sustainable CT's website, you'll see there are just so many action plans that address everything like Kim said, but also now include areas of like equity, inclusion, all types of things, the arts, things that, we want to probably start bringing in particularly as we start to develop that waterfront area and the Ames area. So there's a lot of exciting opportunity to become certified, because then you can get a little bit of funding with that. Also notably is that once you are certified, any group, any private group, any private individual member, any resident can come up with an idea and fundraise for it and get match funding for it. So like I always think of you, Ed, is there something you want to do on the trails? If, stuff like that. I mean, we can get a lot accomplished while this little seed money, will start to add up. So I was thinking that because this seems to be like, the foundation of everything that happens in Rocky Hill, if the PIC committee, since it already exists, becomes the committee to oversee sustainable efforts, if you will. And then as you find projects or action plans that you may like to see happen, you can always funnel that stuff up to subcommittees who will then funnel that up to the town council. And, we can find more funding or whatever, add things to our CIP. So it's a great opportunity for us. There's absolutely no cost to do it. There's no obligation that we actually fulfill any of the action plans. It's just a desire to do so. So it's really a win-win, in my opinion.
So please go to the website, sustainableconnectct.org. There's a lot of information there. I just started delving into the website, but we might talk about that. As I said, in the future, we're going to have a focused meeting. I think that's a good way to do some of these things where we have speakers come in, do a focused meeting with Jessica Leclerc and maybe others from the group to help us get going.
I mean, hearing you guys, it seems like, this is exciting, and we should put this in the, in the forefront and at least get this done, because as Lisa said, and as we talked about funding, I think a lot of state agencies and when federal funds, state funds are involved, they're looking at, hey, are you ready? Do you have some sort of plan? And then we'll be like, no, we don't have. So you fall behind and you don't get selected. So I think here we don't even have to spend money. I think it's just time and effort, and we should be ready. I think it's that's where these things are heading. So I like to put this on a front burner and on a timeline so that we can at least have this document ready and add. All the different things can go into here. It looks like it's a broad mandate that comes in. You're talking about a lot of different activities. So why don't we put this, Kim, on a schedule, and we'll work with Lisa and the council and see, what help they need from us, from this PIC group, and at least have that ready.
I also think that, and Melissa, I think that you and maybe the Housing Authority would probably be getting more involved in that. They're talking about inclusion, they're talking about ADA, they're talking about, housing opportunities for those that may not have the ability. So thank you, Victor. So there's a lot of opportunities. So I think this will be a more inclusive activity that this group will be getting involved with.
I agree, Kim.
Yeah, there's a lot to see on the website.
I see funding there on the left side. That piques my interest, funding.
I think they had in recalling the presentation, Lisa, wasn't it they had a matching program where it was like $7,500?
Yeah, it's a matching program.
Total, and you would have to raise the other half for the max.
Yeah, so we could do that as a town, or individuals can do that. So for up to 7,500 for them. So if the town put in that, we'd get that 1,500, or if the residents wanted, there was a group who wanted to raise 1,000 for a particular something, then Sustainable CT would match the other 1,000 for that.
Okay.
You know,
That's interesting. I think Ed's group or who, you know, and they all get together and if there is a fundraising effort and we get, you know, other funding from this group, it helps the cause. And at
Victor,
least get some things underway.
Victor, could you go to the map? There's a map that they have. One of the comments I'd like to just say is when I went on this website and I looked at the map and I saw all these different towns and what they'll do is they'll put either a star or a bronze star or a silver star. And I where's Rocky Hill? We're not on the map. So we got to get on the map. That's what this is all about. Put us on the map because we're doing some great things. Look at our solar farm. Come on, give me a break. You know, we got to be cheerleaders in a way, right? And that's what I think this is. I think, you know, this, and there's other things that we could do too, but it's just, you know, I'm certainly all for this. So whatever I could do to help, certainly.
No, and that's why I think we'll work with the mayor and the council and see how we can expedite and have something under our belt. So at least we get the star and then, you know, for funding, we can go there and see what's available.
Well, Dimple, how do we do something like that? I mean, we have Mayor Murata here. I think they're going to talk about this, I think, at the next town council meeting. Does this group support Sustainable Connecticut? And do we just say at this point, yeah, we think it's a great idea and that goes back to the town council or what? I mean, when you talk about a timeline.
No, it looks like what Mayor said is I think they have to pass the resolution. There is a form and you just put in Rocky Hill and so I think if I heard Mayor correctly, if you guys would be taking that up and passing the resolution.
I don't think that this, from what I understand, there's any opposition to the resolution, but Ed is right. We do need to assign a committee and we do need to assign a person, a contact person. So that contact person is literally someone who just supplies their email address. And so they prefer that that be a staff person because it is necessarily representative of the town.
Yeah.
So I've asked Kim if, and on her busy plate, you know, so she's already reached out as she indicated. So unless there is some objection from you guys being the committee for this particular oversight, I would like to put this committee down.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. I think that's the mission of this committee, right? And you know, I think this is going to help. It's not going to hurt the town. So.
And, you know, they will help in any way. You know, it's not like you have to sit there and try to figure it out on your own. You can literally call Jessica and say, okay, we want to do action plan 3 under this particular category, and they'll help you and they'll set you up and it's not difficult.
And to Dimple's point, there is a template on the website for the resolution. So
yeah, I actually already changed it. So it's ready to go.
Okay, so hopefully we can in a month or so we can have that going, and then we'll follow up as a PIC committee, you know, with this organization. All right, that's sustainable. Any other comments from anyone? All right. We move on to item D, affordable housing.
This is more of a planning and zoning item. I put it on the agenda because it also falls under Sustainable Connecticut. And they get into infill housing and certain other items with respect to affordable housing. But under the state statute 8-30J, every municipality has to prepare an affordable housing plan, and they must do so prior to July 2022. We're obviously at the end of the line. I've been bringing up the word and the terms affordable housing since I was a youngster in the town of Rocky Hill. And
you're still young. What do you mean?
And as has Dimple, it meets with a lot of mixed reviews. But now that we are at the end of the line, it is essentially a mandate now. Because we are by statute have to have our plan completed by July 2022. That will be a budgeted item. I did get estimates. The costs will be in the budget, so that's not for this commission per se. But I bring it up because that has overlap with Sustainable Connecticut. So I bring that up for that reason. So under affordable housing, I'm sure that planning and zoning will probably be reaching out to Melissa and Denise Sanderson, municipal agent for the elderly, and Susan, the director of the Housing Authority, with respect to any areas of expertise and needs that they have seen in the community through the years as well.
Yeah, and this is one of the other items that state is moving forward in mandating, municipalities that they have affordable housing plans and affordable housing, locations available and things like that. So there is a statute that says, every town has to have minimum 10%. And probably, even though we have a lot of apartments and condos and all that stuff, more than anyone we can see from our neighbors, we still don't meet that affordable requirement, that the 10% goal. So, I think it behooves us that we have to follow through and have that affordability requirements, in our developments going forward. Otherwise, we will never meet that requirement, and what the state might do is assign points. Do you have affordability 10%? And if you don't have, you get -5. Right there, we lose. Those are examples where they can put those criterias in. So I think we have to be ready for the future and what it's going to bring. And I think Mayor knows, and I think Kim knows, there is probably legislation this session, that be put forth to move this agenda forward. So if it doesn't pass this time, it will be in the motion and it will happen in a year or two or whatever. So.
Well, one of the thoughts on affordable housing, and I know I discussed it with Dimple, is, and it also ties in with economic development along Solestein Highway, allowing for infill housing or allowing for mixed-use development with an affordable housing component along Solestein Highway, where you may have underutilized buildings and you can create more affordable units in a walkable environment where people have access to stores and some services. So that's something that the Planning and Zoning Commission will be taking up very soon.
All right, we have item E, other. Is that open item? Kim, do you have anything, or is that for others to talk about?
If anybody has anything else. We will have a special meeting coming up March 3rd, as I said.
Yep.
Kim, what time on the meeting? What time on that meeting?
6 p.m.
The next item is tasks assigned. So I think here is where we'll talk about some timelines, as Sandy has suggested. So what we do is, so this task is assigned to all of us, and that is to review the spreadsheet and identify different categories and all that stuff, and then send it to Kim. So Kim, because we'll be discussing this at not our next meeting, but meeting after, right?
Correct. So that would be April 7th will be the following meeting.
Okay, so it's April 7th. So I think by mid-March. Does that help, Kim, does it help you to organize all those things, and or do you want first week of March sometime? Because ideally what I like to do is have that spreadsheet back so we can review that at our next meeting and we are ready. We are not seeing it for the first time at that meeting.
So like anywhere from like the 10th through the 15th of March.
Okay, so why don't we say March 12th? So we'll, by March 12th, we will send everything, our comments to Kim on the spreadsheet. And probably a week before the meeting, we'll get it back from you. So everybody will have a chance to look at it. And then we'll discuss that on this April 7th meeting.
Okay.
All right, so. So we will get by that week of March 29th sometime. All right, any other comments on that? Is everybody okay? The time frame?
Yep.
All right. Appreciate your time spending on this. I know it's a long, and we'll be spending a couple of hours, but once this is done, I think it sets a foundation for us to move forward. Kim, you're good on the dates?
Yes, I would also keep in mind Sustainable Connecticut. These, if you have the opportunity to at least go on the website and peruse it. And then we'll be talking Complete Streets, as I said, on the 3rd of March.
And for our March meeting, we don't have anything to review or no homework, right? Is that
No, we're going to be having, as I said, I contacted Ann Hartman and Peter Gillespie. They've agreed they're going to be talking about Complete Streets, the process, their success stories, and then we're going to get into the weeds and talk about the connection to the Meadows. I know and Ed was on the meeting back in July when we discussed with Peter Gillespie and others the trail system that Goodwin was involved with. Basically creating a trail over private lands. And maybe that's something I can reach out to them and discuss with them as far as a concern with connectivity from Tulisano Park to Sewilla Park. And maybe we could include that, in this.
All right, so basically just be ready with questions and stuff like that at that meeting. So, okay. Now, Kim, do we if you want to bring on just a question, another P&Z member, do we have an issue? Would that count as a quorum or?
If you have 3 members, it would be a quorum, and that would be a planning and zoning meeting. So that would be an issue.
Okay.
Is that something we need to discuss? We can discuss that,
Okay. Yeah.
phone call.
Next item, anyone has any comments on tasks assigned? Anything we are missing based on our discussion or anything? All right, if not, item 5, approval of minutes from December 2nd, 2020. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting, December 2nd.
And I believe Sandy would be second.
A second, sure.
All in favor?
Were there actually written minutes somewhere?
I did not receive any minutes.
Oh.
I think maybe the
Mm.
minutes could be the video if you want to approve that, but I mean, it's,
Typically, we would have a recording secretary take notes, but I did not receive anything.
All right, so we can
Add
pull
that
on.
to your job title.
yeah, so there's no,
All right, I would
minutes-
like,
no minutes then, right?
yeah, so we can have, Victor, you want to pull the motion back?
I will retract my motion.
And Cindy agrees. So no
you.
motion for meeting minutes. All right, so next meeting date is April 7th, but we have a meeting in March. Right, Kim, depending on when they,
Also, a special meeting, March 3rd. It's the first Wednesday of the month at 6 p.m. The meeting after that would be April 7th.
and hopefully they will be able to make that, right?
I've already checked. I've already checked with both of them.
Oh, okay, okay. All right, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
you.
you. Good night.
Thanks.
Wow.
Good night.
All right.